this channel control stuff is available up here. Okay, it doesn't get you to everything, but it gets you to a lot of things. We go input EQ. I've now got the EQ there for that channel because that's my selected channel. I can select on the lower row, okay, upper row and lower row are separately controlled. I can select the input dynamics. So I've now got the gate and compressor controls, again for my selected channel. Okay, alternatively, if I drop that, that becomes matrix sends. If I drop that, that top one goes blank. It's quite likely to sit there and be controls for your effects and so forth. Okay, alternatively, I can select both rows here. If I select bus sends, I get mix buses 1 to 24, the last 4 being preset as sends to the onboard effects processors. Those are there. Again, they apply to the selected input. Over here in the master section, we've got a range of options. We can select whether we want these output faders to act as mix bus 1 to 12, mix bus 13 to 24, matrix or left, right, center. So we've got 8 matrices and then we've got left, right, center. Okay, or we can use these as the VCA masters for the 12 VCAs. Okay, so far so good. Assigning VCAs is simple. You go to this button here which says setup. You select the VCA you're going to set up, and then you select the channels you want to be part of that VCA. Go out of setup mode. You can now see if I mute that VCA, it'll take out my channel and all the other channels here. You'll see the on buttons, when they're switched on, are green. When they are mute, go red. So that's everything gets muted out. If I turn that VCA down, obviously I'm now part of that VCA group. To unassign it, just select it again and deselect those. Okay, that's the VCA selection. You've also got 8 user-defined mute keys up here. You can do the same thing with those. Setup, mute group 1, select all of those. Thank you. Now if I mute, it mutes me out. Okay, again, to reset it, you just do exactly the same thing. The other thing that you've got down here with your output faders, sorry, let's go out of setup. If I go into the mix bus outputs, I can set the input section to follow my selected mix. If you're using the thing to do foldback gig, that's going to be your standard setting, so that whenever you select an output bus, it will automatically drag the input faders with it. We've got control up here over our various lexicon effects. This thing's got 4 lexicon effects engines on board. We've got some basic parameters for each of those effects here when we first select that. If we want more details, we hit the expand switch. So that's now showing me complete control of that first processor. Okay, to send into the lexicon effects, the simplest way to do it is just send as though it's a ordinary effect. I'll just send to lexicon 1. So that's now set up there. It's going to be in post-fade mode. Thank you very much. Switched on and send. Okay, that's now sending, and you can hear that it's returning there. As you would expect, there's compressors and gates on board on all channels. They're accessible just through the usual channel mode, or you can get the input dynamics up here. You've also got graphic EQs preset on all the bus outputs and left, right and center. You don't need to actually patch those in or anything. You've got 8 inserts, so analog inserts in, out, on the back, which can be patched in through the screen at the beginning to specific channels, which is great. On the subject of lights, it's You'll know you probably can't see it that well given the amount of light that we've actually got on the subject here. But when you change the function of these things, they change colors. So if I create a shadow down here, set that to graphic EQ mode, create a shadow down here. Brendan, you might be able to make out that that's gone red there. Metering, there's lots of metering. You can see we've got the 24 bus meters up there. Over here, we've got left, right, center. We've got left and right solo, and we've got the 8 matrix buses are all across here. We've got snapshot memory, so we can store and recall snapshots to run a show which has been pre-programmed and automated. There's not a lot of sort of layers of depth and complexity in menus and so on for this. For example, you can't change the patching from the inputs to the channels. The input connectors connect to specific channels. They don't go anywhere else. They don't do anything else. That's it. The input connector for channel 1 is an input connector for channel 1. There are plenty of other consoles where the input connector for channel 1 is the input connector for channel 1, but you can patch it somewhere else if you feel like it, which I think probably makes a lot more sense in practical terms for a console using a remote racking system. This doesn't use a remote racking system. All the input and output is built into the back of the console. You can't actually see it at the moment because we've got the monitors sitting on top and everything. But basically there's a bunch of panels in the back which take all of the inputs and outputs. Given enough time to do a sound check on this, I don't think it'd be too hard to operate a gig on it. In fact, I'd say based on the fiddling about I've done with it so far, I don't know whether I'd take it out on a critical front of house gig, but I think I'd be quite happy to do monitors on it now. So, you know, it's reasonably approachable.